This is the Porsche 9912 GT3 Cup Car, which at the making of this video is the most ignored vehicle in Assetto Corsa Competizione. And that is a real shame, because amongst other things, this is possibly one of the most enjoyable cars for quick online sprint racing. In this video, I'm going to explain why, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll be just itching to jump in this car and drive it for yourself. Welcome back to the Gamer Muscle YouTube channel. Click that like button and subscribe if you enjoy underappreciated vehicles. Now look, I get it. I fully understand driving your GT3 Ferrari, Lamborghini, even the GT3 Porsches out of the Spa pit lane and then dying of old age just before you get to the track. I get it. That is the pinnacle of excitement for most Assetto Corsa Competizione players. But honestly, this Porsche Cup car is absolutely phenomenal. Now, the biggest difference between the Porsche 9912 GT3 Cup car and your standard Porsche GT3 car is that this vehicle has no traction control, much more bouncy and floppy suspension, all around less grip, and just that little bit less speed. Now, I know many GT3 car fanboys will then be like, oh, well, what's the point? I can only drive cars that drive like a Velcro pad over a Velcro surface around the circuit. Look, hear me out here. By having no traction control and by having a lot more slip, this car produces far more opportunities for a driver to balls things up. And the more opportunity there are for drivers to balls things up, the closer the pack will be, the more intense the racing will be, and the more despair you'll experience in your sim rig. And let's face it, sim racing is not about enjoyment, it's about being punished for being such an idiot to get into such a stupid hobby. Now, as I said, the car's not as fast as GT3 cars, but fortunately it is faster than GT4 cars. So you'll be glad to know if you do take this vehicle to Spa, you will be able to get to the end of the pit lane before the heat death of the universe. It'll be a close call, but it should be possible. Now, seemingly from its bouncy castle suspension, this car gives you a lot more force feedback, feel and information than what you get from the GT3 cars, especially when it comes to braking. You will notice when you get on the brakes that the car really does want to lean into its suspension and turn in, and as a result you feel that tug on the force feedback letting you know that you have pushed the brake pedal, probably too late, you probably missed the apex, but at least you can feel something happening and at least it correlates with what the car's doing. And for me, as a driver that drives by force feedback feel primarily, feeling stuff through the wheel is always really nice. In fact, it's the main reason why I got into sim racing. Damn you, Microsoft Sidewinder force feedback wheel with Toka Race Driver. That was a bloody good game. Where were we? I'm back to 2020. Time of 4K TVs, new games consoles, and everybody locked in their houses. Now, you've probably heard the famous saying, opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has one. I would like to add to that saying and say, yes, everybody has an arsehole, but some arseholes definitely produce more shit than other arseholes. So, with that in mind, so you know that I am not talking shit in regards to this car, I would like to say that we've done 10 plus hours of driving with this vehicle, which probably amounts to about 15, 16, maybe more races. Do you know what? I've lost count. Needless to say, we've done a lot of online races with this vehicle, with the Gamer Muscle community, which contains regulars and completely random people that happen to lose themselves on the internet and find themselves in one of my weirdo live streams. Incidentally, if you want to catch our live streams, subscribe and hit the bell. Every YouTuber says 300 times per video, please kill me. The point is, through all this extensive scientific testing, it was definitely the case that the racing with this vehicle was, for the most part, better than the racing with GT3 cars. Now, I define better by being closer, more exciting, more dynamic, more unexpected, and just generally more interesting. I think that is better. And this was specifically within the context of 15-minute sprint races. At first, we were doing 20-minute races, but reducing it to 15 just made it a little bit more fun, allowed us to get through more tracks quicker, just kept everybody on their toes a bit more. 15 minutes normally is a little bit too short for someone to make a mistake that then allows the car behind them to capitalise on it, catch up and maybe get the overtake, especially with GT3 cars. But with this car, people are making a lot more mistakes, and that, again, as I say, opens the opportunity for there to be more moves despite the shorter time frame. In a 15-minute race, though, you know, if you do bin it in the wall, that's pretty much race over for you. You're never going to catch up with the guys at front. But to be honest, that's also partly the case with a 20-minute race. It's only if you get to sort of 30, 40, 50-minute races where that total glorious consistency comes in as the defining factor. Obviously, with a 15-minute race, your quali position is really important. It's very unlikely in a 15-minute race, if you're outside of the top 10, that you're going to win that race. And really, you probably need to be in the top 8 or top 5 to win. But because there's often so much going on with this car and so much battling, there is an outside chance that you slow quali boys and girls have a chance to get up front and maybe claim a podium. Now, outside the fact that this is a bloody fun car to race, if you hadn't gathered by now, obviously, you know, it's got the old Kunos treatment in terms of the graphics. I mean, look at that dash. That's all I get to see of the car, because that's the view I like to drive from. Don't think the rest of the car might not even exist. Well, they've just wasted their time modelling the rest of the car. They should have just done this dash. Would have saved a lot of development time. But, you know, it looks absolutely gorgeous, the way it picks up the light and everything. If you've got a super IBM mainframe, you can pump the graphics up and have it look quite nice. The audio is really nice with this vehicle. Definitely sounds like proper straight-cut gears. It wouldn't be a race car if you didn't have tinnitus after 3 laps of driving it. So, you know, that gives you that authentic race car experience, despite the fact it's not as fast as a GT3 car. Woo! Other things to watch out with this car, which are quite fascinating. I'll go back to the physics again. The tyre heating dynamics of if you overdrive it and that heats the tyres up and you lose the grip, normally it comes back within 1 or 2 corners and you have to be really careful. But also the dynamics of you want to get on the throttle as soon as possible, but you have to then straighten it up. And if there's the camber on the track, that can light up the rears, and then working out how you can balance that based off the steepness of the track, the camber of the track and everything, and how much angle you're putting in. It can be really satisfying nailing those mastery of that dynamic of the vehicle and the balancing of the throttle pedal, which again I think is a little bit lost, you know, with the traction control and some of the GT3 cars. They just lose that finesse that you have to have on the pedals. It would have been nice maybe to have a non-ABS version of this car. You can turn the ABS down, and I think you might even be able to turn it fully off, but, you know, it'd be stupid to drive with it off. I think normally about 3 or 4 is what I normally have with this car when racing. But even to be fair, actually, even with the ABS on 4 and sometimes higher, on tracks like Laguna Seca, when you're going over the corkscrew, if there's a big undulation in the road surface, you can lock the wheels up. So you do have to be careful on the brake pedal much more than you do on the GT3 cars. Modulate that brake pedal a bit better, and then be aware of your front tyres effectively being microwaved if you do lock up. It's a nice little... You do notice the dynamic nature of the tyre heating and how that subtly affects the grip, or not so subtly if you've just driven headfirst into the Armco because you ignored your cooked tyres. Only takes a few times of doing that to learn, and these cars are only like 380,000 euros each in real life, so bargain. Probably cheaper than getting a degree these days, so yeah, total bargain. Lessons on a budget. Now, I have been singing its praises a bit too much, and I've got to be cynical, miserable and pessimistic, otherwise I would not be myself. So I will say, you know, I would definitely like more force feedback, especially seat of the pants force feedback. I know I don't shut up about it. It's a mental condition I've got, force feedbackitis. You know, I think with that little bit extra force feedback feel there, it would be really even much better. Even though it is still quite good now, like, it's very enjoyable now. Don't get me wrong, but it just could be better. It could be like, you know, you've got a cheesecake there that's really nice, and you've gone and put a bit of lemon on top of it. Perhaps a better example would be if you took your favourite fermented bitter beverage. Let's not get into trouble with YouTube here. and you know, you could drink that lukewarm, and you'd be like, well, that's all right, it's quite nice. But if you were to get a glass and you put it in the refrigerator, so your glass is chilled and your fermented bitter beverage is chilled as well, and you take that glass out of the refrigerator and it's got condensation on it, and you're then maybe at a nice Spanish beach with the sea lapping on your toes, and you have that fermented bitter beverage from that glass with some nibbles, packet of nice crisps or olives or whatever, you know, that you know, how much better is that than just a lukewarm beverage? That's what Seat of the Pants force feedback's like for me. So that's convinced everybody for sure. And I would imagine this car, if you don't have a really nice force feedback wheel or strong force feedback wheel, it might be quite a handful to drive. But then again, saying that, in our community we have a lot of people with driving with different equipment, from T150s, G29s and what have you, all the way up to the different DD wheels, and for the most part it seemed pretty compacted and people weren't whinging too much. And you know, what with me setting the precedent as the whinge master, people do whinge in this community when they're not happy. So yeah, and most of our viewers definitely think this is a good car. So the real question is, why aren't there more servers running this? If you click the Cup category on the server browser, the worst server browser in the history of games, provided by Kunos, if you hit the Cup category, there's like sometimes one server, maybe two, and then pretty much always empty. It makes no sense at all, because for the quick online sprint races, which is the type of thing you want to get when you're doing casual racing and not league racing, this is bloody perfect for it. So hopefully, after watching this video, all you filthy Kunos GT3 at Spa fanboys will be like, by golly, he's got a point. The chap's correct. And but the Cup car will be popular, and that'll be how I contributed to sim racing. So you know, this video that you're watching has been another low effort production from Gamer Muscle Studios, and hopefully you found it very much delightful. And you know, if you did, then well, there you go. Good for you. You can hopefully join us in our... I'm not going to tell you to do anything. I've already said it twice. I'm not saying it again. You could join us in our community races, and we will definitely be racing this car more in the future. So what I would say is drive this car, find out it's good, then make a completely terrible car skin, which is more important than the driving in ACC. You really want to make your car skin look like you've just run over a crowd of clowns. That's the optimal ACC car skin. You can see that's what that guy's running there in the blue and pink car, and my Union Jack car. Yeah. But until the next one, guys, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this. Happy tea drinking, happy sim racing, and goodbye. On the screen right now is a video of the current state of Assetto Corsa Competizione, which you might enjoy if you enjoyed this one. And, of course, another button you can click which does bad stuff to you.